Hello, um, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, depending on where you are privileged to watch us from. I literally was thinking about doing a live session, basically because it's Friday, it's the end of the week, it's the end of a lot of people are signing off work today for a bit of a while. So it's kind of breaking time for Christmas. So people will be going away for Christmas for a little while. And I thought, well, we can do something before the weekend, right? So I'm just thinking about random things. I don't really have much to talk about today. I don't really have much to discuss, but I just thought it feels right to do this because obviously, as I said, it's coming towards the end of the year, so things are slightly, slowly by slowly, slowing down, so to say, and just kind of in a way being able to see how things are turning around is kind of nice. So I am gonna make this very artificial. I'm just gonna make it like come let's chat together session, if so to say, and just to know how you guys are doing, to know if you have been well, to know what are the plans, if you have any plans for the end of the week, end of the year, um, if you're still working through Christmas, or if you're on break for Christmas, or what are the plans that you have. And if you know me very well, I kind of am very enthusiastic about exercise, about being able to be active. And so that's why, if you have noticed, you see that we are challenging ourselves to do like a challenge before the Christmas season. And all that we are doing or asking ourselves to do is to spend just half an hour of our day walking or running. If you're walking, it should be like walking 5,000 steps, or if you're running, it should be 5 kilometers. And that means just we can be active and getting yourself into Christmas active and keeping a level of activity. And so that's what I'm planning to do from Monday. And so I thought, the what else can I do rather than just kind of in a way coming up and hanging out with you guys, and just to check on you and to check how your plans are, as I said. Just a few things again that have been coming on my mind. Today I had one of those interesting evenings where I realized, in a sense, it's myself who doesn't like Tangled Mess. But for some reason, I had my laptop, and then I had a mouse, and I had my webcam, and then I had my earphone, and then I put all these guys together for some reason. I don't know why. And by the time I realized, everything was a tangled mess, right? It was really, really terrible. And it took me a bit of a while just to work through untangling everything and removing one by one, getting rid of the mouse, getting rid of my earpieces, getting rid of my. And to be honest, I became a little bit frustrated. And my frustration was, why did I even allow this to happen in the first place? Why have I allowed this mess to happen? And now it's taking me 5 minutes to untangle everything. When in actual sense, if I didn't start up with the mess in the first place, I could have actually saved myself 5 minutes. And that gave me a thought. And I was thinking about how sometimes we allow ourselves to get into tangled stuff and tangled issues around us. Like sometimes you can easily find, particularly in this season and in this time where everybody's thinking about Christmas, you can get tangled into, let's say, debt easily because we want to kind of get the next new thing. I had this conversation with my boy, and we were talking about Christmas and Father Christmas and Santa, and what should Santa bring. And he had this notion of an interesting list of things that he was talking to me about. And I thought, maybe I might need to rob a bank at some point or to win a lotto to be able to get all these things that he needs. But we had that conversation, and those who know my boy is not a demanding boy, so he was able to understand. But I realized I could easily have gotten myself in that tangled mess in the sense of finding myself thinking I need to satisfy my son's desires for Christmas, and because I need to satisfy his desires, then what do I need to do? I need to ensure that I give him what he wants, not necessarily what he needs. We can also get easily tangled in messes where we meddle with people's activities and events that we are not necessarily needed to. You can easily find yourself in that place like earlier on I was talking to a colleague of mine, and then somebody passed and did something, and before you realize, you're just like having this conversation and chatting and saying this, and then you're like, but what was that, Claire? That was not supposed to be your place to judge. Who has made you a judge? Who has given you the authority even to start thinking about somebody's whatever they've done? You've got your life to live, right? That could easily tangle me into a mess, right? There are some of us that we can easily get tangled into that kind of a mess by just the way we speak, the words that we speak, and how we speak to other people. And I'm just learning. I'm not yet there, and I will lie to you that I'm perfect at this, but I'm learning what can hurt and yeah, what can be very painful, and the words that we speak to people and about people. I remember a couple of weeks ago, somebody said something to me, and thinking back even now, I'm feeling like, wow, that was a little bit mean to say that. And we sometimes loosely use our words and say, well, um, I don't care about what people say about me, or I don't care what they think about me. Fair enough, you don't need to care about it. But words do have power, and for those of us who ever read our Bibles and things like that, it says there is power. You will be satisfied by the fruit of your lips, right? The things that you speak to yourself or speak about other people, words have creative power. We know God spoke words and the world into existence, and you can literally speak realities through the things that you speak. You can speak into existence and creation things that you don't want to. And so sometimes you can get entangled into just talking about people, talking words that are sometimes hurtful, words that sometimes are, yeah, all sorts of words, and you're not realizing. And some people can actually end up easily hurting other people without knowing. I've openly talked about how hurt people can hurt people. When you have been hurt in a way, or when situations have hurt you, you easily can find you hurt other people without necessarily knowing that you're hurting people, because yourself have been hurt. And there have been times myself as well. I know I have done things that hurt people just because I was hurting or going through a hurtful moment. And just kind of in a way thinking about, you could as well be tangled in that, right? You could be tangled in literally a self judgment, harshly judging yourself and looking down upon yourself and thinking like, I don't deserve a good life, I don't deserve to be treated well, I don't deserve to look after myself, my life is messed up, my life is, I don't know what to say. But you know what, at the end of the day, all those messes, when I was looking up through the wires and the tangles, one of the things that kept on encouraging me was when I started to see one of each one untangling from the rest. So I removed the mouse, put it aside, and then I went to the next layer, removed my headpiece, put it aside, then removed my webcam, put it aside, one by one, until I started to see I only have one wire or one adapter, one thing. And maybe that could be something that you could start to do in this season as we're going into Christmas season. You start saying like, okay, if my mess that I'm tangled in is maybe too much spending, I will start to kind of deal with that. Don't try to deal with everything together in one go. You'll end up very easily discouraged. You might not even be able to do everything together. But if you do, I always say one step at a time, right? I started off removing one thing at a time. So you go to the first thing and say, this mess, I need to deal with it, remove it, untangle yourself. Some of us may have a few more things that are tangling us, or we need to untangle, detangle them so that we can be free. But if you're willing to work through, if you're willing to work through those things, then you're giving yourself that opportunity to be able to live a free life, right? And you can't really start dealing with things and untangling them until you realize, what do I need to deal with? Some of us are in such kind of a mess that our lives is so much into, like we are hooked up into so many different things that we don't even realize. We might be hooked up in maybe gossip. And just find when you're sitting down, literally, you can't just talk about something constructive about somebody else, or you can't just talk about a conversation with another person without including somebody else in the conversation, right? That could be your mess that you are tangled in. I mean, and for some people, that's just what drives them. And I'm not here to judge you. Who am I to judge you to say stop doing that or the other? But if you're kind of having, let's say, you have this piece of cloth, right, and it's all wrapped around you, and it gets to a point it can easily become part and parcel of you. That you're just kind of looking at it and thinking that that's me. That's my identity, right? I often remember if I read from the Bible, there's this man that was at the well. He had stayed for 38 solid years until it became his identity, right? Every time he was saying, I'm so tangled in here in this mess that I have nobody to help me untangle me, loose me, and let me go, right? Every time the water is stirred up, I want to come out of this mess. I want to come out of what is tangled me because of my inability to recognize what is holding me back. I can't be able to do it. And by the time I want to do it, something else has come and tangled me. I think I started to walk through untangling myself, and then I slip on another thing. I feel I'm starting to walk through my entanglement, and then I realize I just kind of, in a way, got another pair of shoes that I didn't need to buy. And then I'm thinking like, oh goodness me, I need to kind of sort this date out. And then my son has asked me for a Christmas present. I've gotten back into the tangle. And then I'm thinking like, okay, I've managed to pay off that date. I've managed to get the Christmas presents done. I'm kind of working through. I'm starting to work through out of the date. And then somebody tells me to do, let's go out for Christmas lunch. Then I'm going back into that. And sometimes it can become like a vicious cycle, right? Where our lives are literally held back together into a circle that we are kind of just tied back. Wherever we're trying to do, no matter what, we are kind of in a way just all along tied up, and we are in that mess, and it feels like me and the mess, we are here held together. But you can get to a point and decide and say, what is this mess doing to me? Enough is enough. I've had enough. I can't serve you anymore. I can't keep on living on a negative. I can't keep on making a promise to myself. Some of us, our mess can be, we can't just let go of food, particularly in this season where I can't, let me just be honest and make a very honest confession. Today we had a Christmas lunch at work. I had a starter, right? I had a main, I had a pudding. I went out with a colleague of mine for coffee, right? All those are calories. I've been teaching. When I came back, the first thing I reached out for was for a snack. I'm going home. I'm gonna have to eat my dinner, and that's just one day. In the morning, yes, I went for a run, but guess what? I only did 5 kilometers which might be about 300 to 400 calories that I burn. But what I've eaten already, that's more than basically easily 1,500 calories, right? So if I continually get myself tangled into these unhealthy relationship, I'm not saying that I am an unhealthy eater because I know how to regulate my eating habits and things like that. But if you're kind of a person that I've talked about people who find comfort in things like food. So if you are kind of in a way you are happy, you reach out for food. If you're sad, you reach out for food. If you're excited, you go for food. If you are, no matter the emotions, you link them back to food. That might be another entanglement, and particularly in this season where we can easily be invited. I'm talking to everyone that's talking about we're going out for Christmas dinner, Christmas party, all those kind of things. But you can easily end up the whole season thinking that it's fine, I'll come to January and I'll just do veganuary, or I will set a New Year's resolution and I will be able to lose all the weight because anyway, after all, at the end of the day, it's festive season, right? But some of these things they can be like very small things that can actually result into a massive impact at the end of the day. And if you don't deal with those small things, if I couldn't deal with those small wires, if I didn't deal with that small mess, it can actually result into a domino effect. And before I realize, one small thing can result in big impact, right? It could be just I'm tangled in my eating behavior and my eating habits that have literally bound me together. And I'm seeing it like, okay, it's just fine, it's okay, it's just me being a little bit like greedy during this season. And then before you realize, after Christmas is done, you start the new year and you're thinking like, I will come, next time I'll come for me to work through the things, right? It could be tangled in a toxic relationship. I'm not going to even try to talk about that because I'm not a a relationship professional, a counselor or anything. But maybe that could be just that small thing that has tied you into that unhealthy relationship. And because you're thinking, my bills are being paid, my needs are being met, I can just stay in that toxic thing. And toxic relationship can be with human beings, but can also be with things. It could be with food, I said, it could be with possessions, whatever. And if those things do not serve you well, why do you allow yourself to continue to be tangled in that mess? For some of us who are tangled and entangled in a mess that we don't even know that it has really become like that man, the 38 years old that he lived at that poolside. He became said, it's my thing. He had his mat even after he'd been healed. He literally carried his mat with him because it was part of his identity. It's like, I'm not going to leave my identity to anyone at this stage. I will move on and go with it. And so it can become something that we are so familiar with, and familiarity breeds content, right? You can become so familiar with something that at the end of the day, somebody's telling you, stop, this is not helpful. But because you're so used to it, you're so familiar with it, you can't see the difference. You can't see like it's unhealthy pattern. You can't see the entanglement. And my prayer and my hope tonight, even as I'm sharing this, is for anyone who watches this, maybe today and in the days and in the years to come, will find that grace and that strength to start to identify those cycles, to start to identify the small things that have put them all together and start to untangle yourself. You may need some work, you may need some, I don't know, if you need to do that with a counselor, you may need to do that through therapy, you may need to do that through whatever it is. I usually say that some of these things we particularly can start to demonize them and say, well, I can't do therapy. If I am a Christian, I don't believe in these things and things like that. But I believe in you not. You need that wisdom to know the right thing to do, to know the right place to go to for help. And so you need to constantly remind yourself, I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to step out and do the right thing. So that no matter how much you need in this season as you're crossing over, you will remind yourself, I don't want to go into the new year with all the messes that I've brought along, maybe for a year, or maybe like this man for 38 years, that it becomes like part of your identity. You can get yourself and say, no, 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 I've got to wake up, do something, and get out of this mess. If you need to do therapy, so be it. Go find therapy. If you need to find a personal trainer who will help you work through your health and your physical activity, you might want to invest maybe a couple of months in that. And once you know what you need to do, you can become self driven, right? If you don't know what to eat, you might want to start with a nutritionist or check online. There are so many different programs, there are so many different apps that can be useful and helpful in a way if you want to start a healthy relationship and come out of tangles and messes. And so as I bring this to a close, it was a very random one, it was a very random talk based on what has happened to me today, finding myself frustrated for a very long period of time trying to get out of a mess that I could have easily avoided in the first go. And as I said, it could be something that has put you down, something that has maybe bound you for a little while. And you sit back and you're thinking, hey, how will I ever come out of this mess? How will I ever come out of this tangle without ever judging you? I just want to let you know that there's no struggle that is too difficult that you cannot be able to overcome as long as you decide in your mind and you decide to work on it, right? As long as you decide and say, okay, um, I'm going to do my work. I'm going to commit to it. If I have to commit to therapy, I'll commit to therapy until I see a breakthrough. If I have to commit to healthy eating, I'm going to commit to healthy eating until I see a breakthrough. If I have to commit to not talking to bad people, if that's something you practice for a long time, it can easily become part of you that you don't even realize. But with practice, you can start to break down those unhealthy patterns and begin to build healthy patterns. It takes 21 days to build a healthy pattern, but it takes 90 days for it to become lifestyle, right? So keep on practicing, and sometimes you get it wrong. I've been trying to be more aware of my thoughts, my behaviors, and my feelings, and I can tell you there have been times that I have found it more difficult. There have been times that I've thrown a tantrum as I'm writing down my thoughts, as I'm writing down my feelings, as I'm writing down my behaviors. I'm thinking like, why am I doing this? Honestly, it is hard. Honestly, it's hard work. Honestly, I don't want to commit to this. Why am I taking myself through all this trouble? But then because I look at it, I'm like, I'm better off being able to be a better person by identifying these cycles so that I can break the loop to allow myself to react in the moment, to react when I'm aware and present rather than reacting in the moment of provocation. It hasn't been easy, and I know it's not going to be easy. That my body will just say, hey, Claire, we can do this. Good night, goodbye. No, it will be a fight. It will be constant war, but I'm ready to win it. I'm ready to keep fighting because I know it's not in my might, it's not my strength or my power, but God will give me the grace to do it. And so as you're going into the new year, what is it that you're purposing and committing to doing? If you're committed, practice, 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 practice makes perfect. Have a lovely evening. If you haven't already done that, why not consider clicking that like, clicking that subscribe, clicking that share. This will support us to go a long way. Otherwise, have a great evening. Hopefully, I'll get some time for another catch up before Christmas. Until then, I pray that you'll prosper and be in good health even as your souls prosper And I hope to see you in another episode. I pray that you'll be richly blessed and know that you are loved, highly celebrated, and appreciated. Have a great evening. Goodbye, everyone.